If I was to ask you which single characteristic is most common to the most successful business leaders in the world, what would you say? Perhaps you'd opt for great charisma, or clear vision, or articulate communication, maybe a burning passion. Maybe you'd say it's thick skin or the ability to make decisive decisions. Well, in fact, it's none of the above. In his seminal work, Good to Great, leadership consultant Jim Collins and his research team explored the nature of the top executives in the business world. They did some in-depth research into companies who outperformed the rest of the market by 7 times for a sustained period of 15 years, and they were astonished by their discovery. He says this: "We were surprised, shocked really, to discover the type of leadership required for turning a good company into a great one. Compared to the high-profile leaders with big personalities who make headlines and become celebrities, the good to great leaders seem to have come from Mars. Self-effacing, quiet, reserved, even shy. These leaders are a paradoxical blend of personal humility and professional will. We found leaders of this type at the helm of every good to great company. To their great surprise, humility was the characteristic that marked out these great leaders from the rest. And yet, in some ways, I guess we shouldn't be surprised. The greatest leader to have ever walked the earth did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking on the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. And, being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. And yet, somehow, his humility did not diminish his influence. On the contrary, thousands of years later, billions of people across the globe still follow his lead. Humble leaders, it seems, are better leaders. Here are 5 reasons why. Number 1, humble leaders, they learn more quickly. Humble leaders will learn and grow at a rate that the proud have no hope of doing. Humble leaders open themselves up to the idea of being wrong, of receiving correction and asking others how they think it could be done better. They learn from people regardless of their status or stature or age. They are reflective on their practice and quick to learn from their mistakes. In contrast, as J.P. Cotter from the Harvard Business School reflects, arrogant managers can over-evaluate their current performance and competitive position, listen poorly, and learn slowly. In his fantastic book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, Patrick Lencioni argues that one of the main factors that restricts growth is lack of conflict in a team. And whilst this might sound counterintuitive on first hearing, Lencioni suggests that healthy teams have enough trust to say what they are really thinking and feeling. And without this, teams lack honest reflection and constructive criticism, which in turn stunts their growth. When you approach your team and young people with humility, they experience validation. They experience your interest in what they think. They feel valued because your listening ear communicates that you believe they have something unique and significant to contribute. This encourages open and robust conversation where team members and young people feel free to say it as they see it, rather than holding back on their true opinion for fear of upsetting the leader. Easily offended leaders with inflated egos do not encourage honest teams. Allowing constructive criticism and encouraging it at a team level is a powerful way to learn quickly, but it requires a humble leader to create this culture. Humble leaders are better leaders because they learn more quickly. And humble leaders are better leaders because they call the best out of those they lead. Humble leaders, we've said it before in Leadership 101, they're a launch pad for others to jump off rather than a ceiling that they cannot break through. They take delight in those who were once below them going on to do bigger and better things than they've ever achieved. And this is the nature of true leadership, not to grow in personal influence, but maximizing the potential of others, which inevitably demands that they get the credit. But when our ego prevents us from relinquishing the spotlight, we become the ceiling that our children and young people team will never surpass. But humble leaders create the opportunity for others to thrive. Humble leaders are better leaders because they call the best out of those that they lead. And humble leaders are better leaders because they engender loyalty. Humble leaders are quick to admit their own mistakes, which, contrary to popular belief, actually strengthens a leader's reputation rather than damages it. Their authentic vulnerability communicates to their young people that they are imperfect humans too. And this endears people to the leader because whilst our strengths may impress people, it's our vulnerabilities that connect with them. Simply put, humble leaders are more likable. And this is why humble leaders engender loyalty in those that they lead. And we'll explore this principle a little more deeply in the next episode of Leadership 101 as well. Humble leaders are better leaders because humble leaders are more persuasive. Much of leadership in youth and children's ministry is about our power of persuasion. It's true, isn't it? We're constantly seeking to persuade people to join our teams or to give financially towards our next residential, or to release funds for our youth programs, or engage in our weekly Bible studies, maybe to bring a friend on Friday night. And the humble are more persuasive than the arrogant because the key weapon in the arsenal of the persuader is their character. Arrogance is a deterrent, where genuine humility has a way of winning others over. Humble leaders are better leaders because they're more persuasive leaders. And last but not least, humble leaders are fearless leaders. The fear of failure is often rooted in a fear of losing face. But if you fear failure, you stunt innovation. Humble leaders are more comfortable in taking calculated risks because the progress of the ministry is more important than the preserving of their own reputation. Humble leaders establish an environment where it's okay to try and to fail as long as you try. And thus, humility cultivates courage, and courage cultivates progress. Friends, if there was ever a promise of Scripture that we should pay attention to, it's this: that God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble. Humble yourself before the Lord, and He will lift you up. Let me wrap this up by saying thank you for your humility, displayed in your willingness to serve children and young people, often behind the scenes, often without being noticed or thanked. But you know what, guys? God notices, and He smiles on you. I cannot think of anything more significant that you could give your life to than passing on the gospel to the next generation. So keep going. Don't give up, because what you are doing is important.